Dear students, we are studying the chapter Confronting Marginalization, and this is the part 3 of this chapter. In the previous video, we discussed about the provisions of the Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. In this video, we will cover three topics: some ideas of Kabir Das, the scores of manual scavenging, and Adivasi demands and the 1989 Act. So let's start with the ideas of Kabir Das. Dear students, you may have read Kabir's poems in your language textbooks. Hindi subject. Kabir was a 15th century poet and weaver who also belonged to the Bhakti tradition of medieval period. Kabir's poetry spoke about his love for the Supreme Being free of ritual and priest. It also expresses his sharp and pointed criticism of those he saw as powerful. So Kabir was against all kinds of inequalities in the society. Kabir attacked those who attempted to define individuals on the basis of their religious and caste identities. So you can understand that Kabir was against the religious discrimination and casteism. In his view, every person had the ability to reach the highest level of spiritual salvation and deep knowledge within themselves through their own experience. His poetry brings out the powerful idea of the equality of all human beings and their labor. He writes about valuing the work of the ordinary potter, the weaver, and the women carrying the water pot, labor that in his poetry becomes the basis of understanding the entire universe. Let's study one of his extract. Pandit, look in your heart for knowledge. Tell me where untouchability came from. Since you believe in it, mix red juice, white juice, and air. A body bakes in a body. We eat by touching, we wash by touching. From a touch, the world was born. So who's untouched? Asked Kabir. Only she who is free from delusion. So dear students, in this poem Kabir is challenging the priest by directly questioning at him about where untouchability came from. He asked the priest to look for knowledge in his heart and not in the scriptures. Kabir goes on to describe how every human body is made of blood and air and has spent 9 months in the mother's womb. Means all are equal. They have been born, they have been means come here only through the single process, the same process, and that everything in the world is created by touching something, whether it be a pot, a human being, or a painting, anything. He takes the word untouchable and gives it a very different meaning. He claims that untouchability is the highest state of knowledge. It means not be touched by narrow limiting ideas. Therefore, Kabir finally turns the idea of untouchability on its head from the lowest to the highest state that a human being can achieve. So dear students, these were the ideas of Kabir Das. The next topic is the scores of manual scavenging. Manual scavenging refers to the practice of removing human and animal waste, excreta using brooms, tin plates and baskets from dry latrines and carrying it on the head to disposal grounds some distance away. So you can think about this work. It's a very insulting and humiliating activity. A manual scavenger is the person who does the job of carrying this filth. This job is mainly done by Dalit women and young girls. According to the Andhra Pradesh based Safai Karamchari Andolan, an organization, this is the organization working with manual scavengers. There are 1 lakh persons from Dalit communities who continue to be employed in this job. in this country and who work in 26 lakh private and community dry latrines managed by municipalities. Manual scavengers are exposed to subhuman conditions of work and face serious health hazards. They are constantly exposed to infections that affect their eyes, skin, respiratory, and gastrointestinal systems. They get very low wages for the work they perform. Those working in urban municipalities earn only 200 rupees per day, and those working privately are paid much less. As you have read earlier in this book, the practice of untouchability has been abolished by the Indian Constitution. You remember Article 17 of the Constitution. However, manual scavengers in different parts of the country, the Bhangis in Gujarat, Pakhis in Andhra Pradesh, and the Sikaliers in Tamil Nadu, continue to be considered untouchable. They often live in separate settlements on the outskirts of the village and are denied access to the temple, public water facilities, etc. In 1993, the government passed the Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrines Prohibition Act. This law prohibits the employment of manual scavengers as well as the construction of dry latrines. In 2003, the Safai Karamchari Andolan and 13 other organizations and individuals, including 7 scavengers, filed a PIL, public interest litigation, in the Supreme Court. The petitioners complained that manual scavenging still existed and it continued in government undertakings like the railways. The petitioners sought enforcement of their fundamental rights. The court observed that the number of manual scavengers in India had increased since 1993 law. The Supreme Court directed every department, ministry of the Union government and state governments to verify the facts within 6 months. If manual scavenging was found to exist, then the government department has to actively take up a time-bound program for their liberation and rehabilitation. The Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act came into force on 6 December 2013. Adivasi demands and the 1989 Act. This is the next topic of this chapter. The 1989 Act, about which we have discussed in the previous video, and the provisions of this act to protect the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. But it is important for another region, Adivasi. Activists refer to it to defend their right to occupy land that was traditionally theirs. Because you know that Adivasi people are supposed to be there in the forest, and forests were considered like their homes. As you read in this previous chapter, Adivasis are often unwilling to move from their land and are forcibly displaced. Because of the developmental projects, the government displaced them forcefully. Activists have asked that those who have forcibly encroached upon tribal land should be punished under this law. They have also pointed to the fact that this act merely confirms what has already been promised to tribal people in the constitution, that land belonging to tribal people cannot be sold to or bought by non-tribal people. It means the land where the people lived, right? So that should not be sold out, and non-tribal people are not supposed to purchase that land. In cases where this has happened, the constitution guarantees the right of tribal people to repossess their land. It means again they can have the land, they can get again that land. C.K. Janu, an Adivasi activist who has also pointed out that one of the violators of constitutional rights guaranteed to tribal people are governments in the various states of India. For it is they who allow non-tribal encroachers in the form of timber merchants, paper mills, etc., to exploit tribal land and to forcibly evict tribal people from their traditional forest in the process of declaring forest as reserved or as sanctuaries. So sometimes the government declared this land, forest land, as reserved and in the under the reserved category, and sanctuaries and wildlife sanctuaries. She has also noted that in cases where tribal have already been evicted and cannot go back to their lands, they must be compensated, right? So compensation should be there for those people. That is, the government must draw up plans and policies for them to live and work elsewhere. After all, the government spend large sums of money on building industrial or other projects on land taken from tribals. So why should they be reluctant to spend even very modest amounts on rehabilitating the displaced? So finally, if we think about the tribal people, so they lived in the forest and they were completely dependent on the forest, and forests were their homes. So they did not want to leave the forest, and still they want to live in the forest. They are happy in the forest, so they means don't want to be displaced due to any kind of project.